Thank you, and welcome to the Agency Balance Podcast, where we talk about marketing, tech, real-life self-improvements, and things that make you happy to find your balance. Agency Balance is sponsored by Smartiker, a marketing technology agency that creates solutions that align B2B marketing, sales, and service to drive results throughout the entire customer journey. Get the MarTech experts. Get Smartiker.com. Here is your host of the Agency Balance Podcast, David Snyder.
Welcome to another episode of the Agency Balance Podcast. I am so thrilled today to bring another guest to you, Denis Kreft, president and co-founder of Imaginasium. Denis, welcome to the podcast.
Dave, thanks for having me. So excited to be here. I've seen a few episodes, and I was hooked after the first one. And when you asked me to participate, I was like, man, what an honor. And I just hope I have one little nugget of wisdom for every member of your audience today, and we'll see where this goes. But I'm super excited to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on. I guarantee listeners, you're going to have more than one, because when I met Denis and I, we were in this online group and we were back and forth on a bunch of things. And Denis and I think are a little bit alike in our thinking. So we want to share that with you today. So Denis, I always look at your profile online and how you start to present yourself. And I love what you wrote. You said, you're on a mission to help manufacturers clarify their message, build a culture that believes in the company's vision, that's huge, and create marketing that drives customer to action. So just maybe talk about that and tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, after being in this business for 30 plus years now, we've pivoted, we've evolved. Started as a design studio. We were a full service agency, and we were heavy into brand at one point. And our most recent pivot about right before COVID hit was, you know what, we're really all about lead generation. What does our audience need? What area are we impacting? So we really have focused on manufacturers, and it's all about lead generation and recruitment marketing now. Those are our two key factors. And it's been a wild ride over 30 years. I had a co-founding partner, had 3 partners at one point in time. Then it was just myself up till the start of this year, where I'm 60 years old now. So I'm thinking about what's next. The whole balance thing, Dave, which it's work-life balance, right? Well, 60 years old, it's what's next for me. And I've brought my junior partner on, or my VP on as a partner, and she's my succession plan. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that kind of is coming full circle from me, a co-founding partner, multiple partners, then myself, and now I've got another partner, and I'm on the way out. So. Wow.
Well, first, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting. It's exciting for me. It's exciting for my partner. It's bringing back memories, right, of when I started the company, and everything that she's asking me of, and I haven't thought about for 20 years. Because It's just old hat for me. And she's like, well, why do we do this? And I got to think about that. Why do we do this? So it's been really refreshing. It's been a cool ride, and the company's in great hands, and the culture is going to evolve even more from where we built it to today. So it's exciting stuff.
So how did you get started in this business 30 some years ago?
Oh my gosh. It's crazy. I was selling newspaper advertising at the time, and my brother was the production manager at a commercial printing company. And I was making about an hour and 15-minute commute back in the early 80s, and winters here in Wisconsin aren't always that fun to make an hour and 15-minute commute. And he said, you know what, we need a salesperson. Would you be interested? I know you're kind of not really that happy. And I said, I've never sold commercial printing. He said, that's the same as advertising. You got the gift of gab. You're a relationship person. You're all about people. You'd be great at it. Okay, started exploring it. Boom, jumped into it. They handed me a bunch of dead dormant accounts, and I just started calling on people. Back in the day where no fax, no email, it was all running back and forth or maybe picking up a phone. I got good at it, and a year and a half into that, the owners of the company said, we have an opportunity to get our hands on a really creative designer. And they never worked with advertising agencies at the time. I think they were going through some quality issues and maybe they couldn't handle it at that time. And I just thought, they approached me. They said, "Hey, you think you can sell design?" And of course, I'm in my 20s and I'm full of piss and vinegar. I can do anything, right? It's all about me, right? It's like, yeah, another revenue stream, more money in my pocket. Hell yeah, I can sell it. Well, lo and behold, I could. And that designer and I created a bond, and he and I actually started Imaginasium as a division of that printing company at that point in time. Joe Burton.
That's so cool.
It was my co-founding partner. He's a really good guy, and it was interesting, and we just took off from there.
That's so cool. So you said two things that stood out to me. One, fax. For anybody that's listening, a fax is where you used to send a photocopy through your phone line. But the other thing was relationship. You started about relationship, obviously the gift of gab, which you do. Most of us in kind of the sales world, you need to have that. And I always say, like, it's not just gift of gab, but it's confidence, right? And I know you have that. But talk about relationship. I think, because I like that a lot. I always said I am not necessarily a sales guy. I'm a relationship guy. How's that? Yeah. Talk about that over your career.
Well, it's interesting because when I started out, it was all about making the sale, right? So I was good with people. I truly wanted to know about people and how I could help. But I'll be honest, back then it was about, okay, I got to make money. I got to put food on the table. I've got bills to pay. I had to make the sale, right? And then I owned my own business, and that was even a little bit more pressure. Okay, need to make the sale. But the key to making the sale was always taking care of the client, right? There's no sale without taking care of the client, making an impact, and taking good care of them. Personally and with the service we're providing. And now coming back to where I'm at now, it's all about how can I give back? How can I give back? And how can I find the right relationships? And now it's focused to more quality versus quantity. Because we used to have 50 to 75 clients, and we were doing a couple jobs a year as a design studio. And now we want to work with 10 to 12 clients that really want to let us in deep and really take our expertise to make an impact in their business. And the relationships are deeper and they're wider in these client firms that we're working with. So it's interesting. I'd go to networking events in my 20s and 30s and be like, how many people can I meet? I got to go. I haven't seen them in 3 months. I got to go talk to them. And now it's like, what's one connection I can make at this event? I want to make one connection, and I always do. And then I typically make more, but the goals have changed, the focus has changed, and I guess you could say maybe I've matured a little bit, Dave.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for that because, and as one thing's to get simpler, right? And those who are listening that are maybe early in their career, like something to think about, right? Is when you're choosing the right client, really ask yourself, it's like, okay, do we need the sale? Okay, sometimes you're at a point where you got to just scrap things together and you need to make ends meet and you need to grab, whatever client you can to keep the lights on. But then you can get choosy, and once you've figured out you can get choosy, I always recommend really understand who your ideal customer profile is. Build it out, the size, the makeup, the industry, the how many people, what is their revenue, what does their leadership team look like? And when you're going through that sales process or the relationship process that we're talking about here, is really make sure that you're choosing the right customer because one, they're investing in you, but you're also investing in them for the long term because you want your clients to be with you for a really long time. And the worst thing you want to do is bring on a crappy client that's going to be crappy to you, that's going to be crappy to your people, and that's going to make your culture suffer.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, two key components of our ideal client profile are, will they let us lead? Are they hiring us for our expertise, or they just want us to be the hands? We don't thrive well if we're just the hands, and there's a lot of companies that are like ours that are built on that. Give me the volume, and they do a great job, and it's necessary because clients can't do that, but that's not how we're built. So let us lead, value our expertise, and then I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. Are they good people?
Yes, up 100%. 100%, Dennis.
You can't judge, but we're learning some questions to ask. And you can tell by the body language when we ask certain questions, like, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to ever do that, or I'm going to let you do that, or I'm going to let you in at that level. And then it's like, okay, that's a yellow flag. And then there's some things that are a red flag. And you know what? Hey, 30 years, I've gotten beat up, man. I've been through a lot. And if I haven't learned from that, what good am I? So I try and protect the team from that. And, is it foolproof? No, we still make mistakes, and we still say, man, this isn't going the way we thought. But then because of the conversations we're having up front, we're able to engage in that conversation again, say, hey, listen, what's going on here? Because when we engaged 3-4 months ago, we asked about this. You said we'd do this and we'd get this, and it's not happening. What's going on? Are we not holding up our end of the bargain? Did we do something to make you pull back? What's going on? Let's get it on the table and talk about it.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier.
For sure. Yeah, we've gone through that. Talk about maybe a relationship that has gone bad, and maybe some of the reasons why it happened, and maybe that would be helpful for our listeners. And then also, have you ever fired a client?
Yes, we've fired clients. We fired a client because Christmas Eve day, we were closing at noon. Christmas Eve day, right? Got a call at 11 o'clock. They expected stuff done. 3 or 4 of our people on our team worked into the mid-afternoon. We sat down with that person after the holidays and said, and that was just one of several leading up to it, right? But that was kind of it, right? Sat down with him and said, you're not going to treat our team that way. And of course, he's like, oh, I didn't realize, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 months later, he never changed. And 3 months later, we said, we're done. Walked away.
Yeah.
Now, we've also wanted to end relationships, but on a good way, where let's find a landing spot for them, right? If we've grown apart, we don't just say, hey, screw you, we're done. We want to transition and say, you know what? This isn't a good fit anymore.
Sure.
Let's take 30, 60, 90 days, and here's some options. And we've done that quite a bit, actually, because we've evolved over time, right? And when we've changed our focus to focus on manufacturing, we had some non-manufacturing clients. It's like, well, we don't want to abandon them, but we don't want to keep fighting our real positioning against our history, right? So It just made sense to kind of evolve from some of those.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, that happens with us too, because whatever, as you grow or change in the business, some things change, and maybe you don't need so much in marketing, or you brought it in house. And we do the same thing. We really focus on the last 30 days in training our clients and offboarding them so that they're set up for success, because you never know. I'm sure you've had what I call boomerang clients that just keep coming back if they've moved on. You just never know.
Yeah. And you don't ever know. And we've fired probably 3 or 4 clients in our time, and I would say they were all fired too late. So for our listeners, if you're thinking your gut's telling you, trust your gut and don't wait, but do it the right way. There's a right way and a wrong way.
For sure. Great.
And I'd be happy to engage in any kind. If someone has never fired a client and they want to know, man, what's it like? Reach out to me. I'm happy. Like I said, I'm in that stage. I want to give back. I've taken for many years. Time for me to give back.
That's awesome. Yeah. So at the end, we'll make sure we provide Dennis's contact information for all the listeners. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about culture, because I think culture is just so important when you're building, an agency. And so you guys are headquartered in Green Bay. You guys are all under one roof, or do you have any remote employees?
We have a couple remote employees, and you know, 5 years ago I said nobody that talks to a client is going to be remote, and then of course the world has changed, and we've had people in metropolitan Milwaukee, Chicago area. We've had a couple in North Carolina, and it's interesting because our business model, we don't have a large tactical team. We outsource the majority of that. So we're working with copywriters, developers all over the country and all over the world, quite frankly, as many of people in our industry are these days. But we have purposely said we're going to build our team up strategically with client strategists, account managers, account planning.
Yeah.
Really hire that core, grow that core internally. And some of those are remote as well. But then the tactical work that we'll either do or we won't, that's a majority of that is outsourced. So
Yeah, I'm sure that works well, because we also, so manufacturing makes up a third of our portfolio as well. And I suspect that, depending on what type of client in manufacturing and industrial, it's really specialized too. So that allows you, especially in the copy world, allows you to get somebody with that kind of industry specific experience, because it's one thing to be writing about a thermoelectric cooler, and it's another thing to be writing about dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Or, a technical writer versus a whimsical writer versus a biographical writer, whatever the word would be.
Yeah.
I mean, expertise is deepening, and the deeper expert we can bring in to solve a specific problem, the greater impact we're making with our clients. And it's just a win-win. And, so in the old days, again, for some of the people my age that may be listening today,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a day you didn't dare tell clients you were freelancing, and
Right.
heaven forbid, introduce them to a client. Well, we bring our key players in, our resources. When it makes sense for them to talk to the client, they're in talking to the client. We manage we build out the strategy, we lead the strategy, we bring the components in to make it work, and we bring people to the table every day. And our clients love it.
Yeah.
Our clients love the fact, because they're asking questions we aren't going to ask, right? So then the client's asking us, we're saying, well, we think this, but let me confirm. And then it's a day or two later. And no, get them in the conversation. That we can make such a greater impact so much quicker by having them part of that conversation. So I've kind of gone off. You asked about culture, right?
Right.
But so you'd think that, I mean, if you don't manage that properly and aren't aware, that could really, really screw up your culture, right? We probably work with 40 to 50 outside resources currently at any given time.
Wow.
But when we engage them, we vet them, we let them know culture is king. Here's our culture. It's transparent. We get issues on the table. You can't get defensive. It's all about doing great work. It's not about your mama. And what's really cool is, can I give a shameless plug to
100%? Do it.
Okay, so we work with a leadership firm here in Green Bay, and they're throughout the country, throughout the world. Actually, they've been in Phoenix, they've been in a couple locations, but Initiative One, leadership training, and they have been a huge difference maker in Imaginasium. We've been working with them for 6 years, and I've been able to invest in culture by putting every single member of our team through their leadership training. It's like a 9-week course, and we still meet as a team with them facilitating on a quarterly basis. And it's probably one of the best business decisions I've made in the history of owning the company.
Wow.
It's been a game changer. It teaches you how to have tough conversations. It teaches you how to focus on what's important, what the stuff that's paying the bills. Okay, you got to pay the bills, but then what's really moving the business forward? And it just teaches I mean, and our team was like, you're sending me through leadership, but I'm not a leader. Oh yeah, everyone's a leader. Everyone is a leader. And so it's been great. It's nominal investment when you think of the payoff, and they're great. And again, if anyone would want to talk to me about them, I think I have a testimonial on their website. They've helped us stay in business and evolve to the point where we are thriving and we're sustainable. And I'm knocking on wood right now, but we're in the process of back-to-back record years.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
What a winning move there. So I love that. So for those who are listening, what we're talking about here is when you think of leadership, don't just think about the owners. Don't just think about the people at the top. Think about your directors. Think about your managers. Think about your rock stars, and double down and invest in them. That's the number one thing that I did too, Dennis. When I took over as CEO, I was like, listen, I'm going to put the people first and everything else will take care of itself. And we did the same thing. We invested a lot in training, self-education. And that's so awesome to hear that that's a part of your culture of making sure that they get the proper leadership training. Because, right, like if we just go out through our daily careers, how do we learn? We learn by failing. We learn by other people just telling us. But don't be afraid to get outside help. That was the other thing that I did, because it brings a different perspective. And here's the other thing. If you're in an agency and you haven't got outside help, you need to try it, because
yes,
there's only so many times that your team is going to listen to you. They may say it the exact same way you're saying it, but because it's outside help, they're going to listen.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Initiative One is, so we continue to work with them, right? So we have our quarterlies, and Fred and Tracy Johnson, they're amazing, and Tracy runs our group. But she'll say, so we'll do a check-in, right? She'll say, something's off. I think I should talk to Susie. By all means, go ahead, right? I mean, so it's that outside, and you said it, Dave. It's not Dennis coming down from the corner office saying, hey, what's going on? It's Tracy saying, hey, Susie, what's going on? You don't seem yourself. I've noticed this, and this. Well, let's talk about it. So it's your outside perspective, and we budget for it. We budget for that. We budget for strategic planning. We have an outside influence for that. Journey Consulting, they do a great job. And we budget for training. I mean, our revenue this year, I'll just say close to 3 million. Our AGI will be about 2.2 to 2.4. And we budget 4 to 5% for team training.
Yeah. So great thing right now, we're smack kind of in the middle of the year. If you haven't done 2023 planning for your business, what I would do is crack open your P&Ls, look at maybe even the last 2 years, evaluate where you're spending money on tools and process, check in with your team and say, are we using this? Are we using this service? If not, let's get it out of here.
Yep.
And then let's say, all right, where do we want to be next year? Are we going to grow? Are we going to stay the same? And then you can take a look at where those gaps are, and you can start to invest more in doubling down on your people. I'm telling you, it's magical. Do it. Absolutely. But you have to do it smart, and you have to plan for it, because some of the things can shock you, when it comes to budget if you haven't planned for it. But plan for it now. I'm talking about 2023. If you haven't started your budgeting, put it in.
Yeah, Dave, you are so right, because we had gotten away from that for a few years. And then this past year, budgeting for 2022, we said, there's a lot of tools we probably aren't touching. We really dove in hard. We found like $24,000 just laying there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, okay, that's either a contingency or where can we invest it? Well, we invested most of that back in our people.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
Stuff we hadn't used in 2 years. Just because we got lazy and lax, right? Oh, times are good. Oh, big deal. Well, so what if times are good? They might not be good tomorrow. Let's run our business like a business and not just this hobby where we got tools laying around in the shed that I might use 8 years from now to carve a piece of wood, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
we
the same.
really got serious about it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like personal subscriptions of all your streaming services. Dennis, we just created our own business to business subscription that will crawl. Oh, I think we got it. We can check.
Let's do it.
Yeah, always be checking your budgeting, and I think if you're listening and you're not really in charge of budgeting, and you're in if you're in a position where you're like, hey, this would be really cool, this would help our team out, this would help me as an individual, ask your managers as well, like, hey, is this in our budget? Like, can we take a look at our training budget? And maybe the answer is, hey, not this year, but maybe it's going to be in for next year. So don't be afraid to ask management, ask your leadership team, like, what is our training budget?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, think back to when I was an employee, not the owner, right? Man, nothing made me feel better than when I knew leadership was investing in me, or ownership, or my boss, or what. Hey, I matter. Man, maybe I do have a future in this game. Maybe I'm pulling my weight, and it's a big message to send, and we just believe in it. And thankfully we're in a position where there's profits there that we can do that. But you know what? There have been years where when we first started with Initiative One, we were losing money.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to make a commitment to building up the team. We needed a culture shift. It had to be done, and we did it. And it was hard. It was hard, but you know what? We just made decisions. Where do we want to invest our money?
Right.
Invest in the team.
Yeah. I'm going to pivot off this, but one of the things that I was looking at was I was so focused on month to month, year to year, and like, oh, what are we going to do this year? We got to maintain that. And sometimes you got to look at it as multi-year, right? You got to look at 2 years, put 2 years together and say, all right, well, we haven't invested in any of this in the last 5 years, and we're just maintaining. Like, do we want to continue to do that, or do we want to grow? And if we want to grow, well, then we need to invest back in the business. Like, any outside investor coming into your business, they're gonna ask some of those questions, like, what have you invested into your business? What of your own money have you put back? What have you invested in your people? So that's just really, really important. And hopefully there's some takeaways there. I might have some resources that I can share on that too. And I'll put them on agencybalance.com under Dennis's post here. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, hop over to agencybalance.com and you can download some of those resources. Dennis, if you think of anything, please feel free to send those to me as well, resource-wise, and we'll get those linked up.
Sounds great. I'm just making a note right now.
And for those who are listening, Dennis is typing right into his phone, real-time note taker. That's the way I am too. And it's not because we're getting old and forgetful. It's just because why not? Let's put it down. I want to talk about balance because that's what I'm about. Is like, it took me a while to kind of figure out, how am I going to balance my day, my life. So talk about how you're finding balance, and maybe you can share a little bit with our listeners, because we haven't talked about this, about transitioning, about being, open on what options you can take to kind of transition out of the business. I would love share what you want to share to our listeners about kind of where you are right now and as you're entering this next journey of your life.
Cool. Be happy to. So, when you talk to industry consultants in our industry, not a lot of agencies get sold, right? Especially the smaller ones, right? I think it's some of the numbers, maybe 25 or 30% change hands. I always knew, when I hit 50, early 50s, already then it was becoming a young person's game, right? And I said, you know what? It'd be nice to be out by 60 or 62. Just start thinking about it, right? So, okay, number one, you should at least plan 3 to 5 years ahead, because you want to build value into your company. There's things you need to do if you're looking to sell, so that you'd even be considered for sale, right? So again, I use my outside consultants. How do I need to build value? What am I doing? Okay. All came and factored in. And then I started thinking, okay, is somebody really going to buy this? Do I want to transition it to the team? Do I just want to walk away? Of course, we weren't making any money, so that wasn't an option. But then, I always, so for 10 years, I was like looking through the lens of, could this person or these people run the place? Forget buying it. Can they run it? Right? Because another option would be for me to just step aside, hang on to a majority of stock, bonus someone, right? But as I identified a person, she expressed interest in buying. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, how do we make this real? So I was looking at a lot of different options. And the whole balance thing, I was unbalanced in my 20s and 30s. Started a business from the ground up. I'd be out selling and running ads, not digitally sending them. I'd be delivering proofs, and it was go. And then at night I'd be doing the billing and doing the books, and I mean, it consumed me, right? And I'm sure it was a factor in me getting divorced, after 20 years of marriage. And as I was going through that evolution in my life, I'm like, okay, you're off balance, Dennis, And you know what? I never used that term until today, Dave, but things were really out of balance for me. So I just made a personal commitment that, okay, I'll find a relationship again, hopefully. The good Lord willing, will bring someone into my life, and I'm not gonna be able to do things the way I'm doing them now, right? So I had to commit to change a little bit from a balance standpoint, and it was probably the best decision I made because the company didn't consume me, my job didn't consume me, and at that point in time, we always had a work-life balance philosophy as a company. It has served us well. You got a kid's soccer game, or you coach basketball, or they got a piano recital or you need dentist appointment. Who wants to go to the dentist on Saturday or 7 o'clock? Fine. You know what? Don't let your team down and don't let the client down, and communicate. So we've always had a work-life balance. It just took me to age 45 to start taking advantage of it. Right. And it's huge because, I still I'll work 50 hours a week, but is working when I'm just chilling out and there's a football game on in the background and I'm maybe doing a little bit of reading or shuffling through paperwork where I can multitask. I mean,
Yeah.
Hell, there's 25 seconds between every play, right?
Yeah.
So balance has been key. And of course, now this stage of my life, my wife and I have 5 adult kids. We have 6 grandchildren, a 7th on the way. None of them older than 5. Well, how the hell can I go and spend? None of them are in Green Bay. They're all in the Midwest. So I'm going to spend time with my grandkids and my children and my wife and our new puppy that we got. But that's a whole nother story. We won't get into that.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I'm so glad that you're finding balance. I always talk about balance is about prioritization. We even have that as one of our core values is prioritization is your superpower. It's you decide what you work on. One of the things that I always try to do before my day is I do the things that make you happy first. Start your day out by doing the things that are going to make you happy first. So if that's me, it's
great.
Yeah. So it's like for me, if it's like I like sports cars, I like collecting things, and if I'm looking at that, I'm always trying to make sure that I slow down in the morning and I'm not rushing, to really to get into it. And it takes planning. Like I get up earlier, so like that's my time. I can spend it, even if it's a half an hour doing those things, taking your dog for a walk first, being out with, the sun, if you're in an area where sun actually comes out every once in a while, or sometimes it's out too long and it's blazing hot. So, but yeah, you have to do those things. Really start out your day with prioritizing you. Because what happens is when you feel out of balance, and I talked about this in previous episodes, is like if you're in a role and you're like your work day, you're spending majority of your time for the company, for the work, and that's spending more of the time, then you feel off balance. You're like, hey, it's not fair, it's not equal. I'm out of here. I'm gonna quit. But flip it. Spend the time for you first. And prior to that, in previous episodes, I break down like how many hours are in a day, how many in a week, how much do you time spend sleeping, and all that, and that's what you're left with, right? So
yeah, and people, somehow we get in these habits of that's how we're built, right? And we think, well, it's the company doing it to me. No, it's just what you've gotten into break that down. So, man, we talk a lot about we don't live to work. We work to live the lives we want to lead. This is just a component. This is getting you your income, your toys, your time, your travel. I mean, yeah, you got to do a great job, but boy, I mean, we had an issue. We close at noon on Fridays, year round. We had an issue where 4 people were working last Friday. Monday in our production huddle, we talked about how that's unacceptable. We spent 10 minutes on it Monday morning saying, guys, if that's happening, something's broken. We've got to communicate. We've got to figure out. So we're not doing that again this Friday. Our clients know that we're only available in emergencies. We've got everything taken care of. If we're working on a Friday, something's wrong. I mean, we guard it. We guard it, and we're territorial about it. And that goes toward building a great culture. I mean, it's got to be sustainable. Are there times that someone's working on an evening? Yeah. Are there times when it has to be done on Friday afternoon? Yeah. Or can I do it Sunday afternoon instead? It just has to be done Monday morning. Yeah, I don't care. Go play golf Friday afternoon. Have it done Monday. Yeah, that's great. Whatever. It's been a key to our success all the years. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, right? But we've got 30 plus years in this industry. So we've been doing some things right. And I'd say that work-life balance is number one. Number one.
That's good. Dennis has a lot of experience with this. Again, we're going to drop Dennis's information at the end. But now let's switch gears because I want to shake things up a little bit. You've been so gracious to share kind of, some of your learnings over. I'm going to throw some randomness at you. So this is the part of I'm now into my podcast talking about Dave's Random 10. So I'm going to hit you with some things here. You ready to go?
Let's go. I'm ready.
I haven't prepped Dennis for any of these. All right, you ready? We'll start off easy.
Time limit? Do I only have like 10 seconds to? Okay, all right.
Now some of them be
deep in thought if I want.
No, well, don't go too deep in thought. Like I like the first reaction. All right, we'll start easy. Ready for this?
Yep.
Tofu, steak, or seafood?
Definitely not tofu. Steak or seafood? I love them both. Depends on the mood. If I'm in the Midwest, it's steak. If I'm on the coast, it's seafood. How's that?
That's a great answer. Or you can just surf and turf it everywhere you go.
Oh yeah, I do that too. So
there's a funny saying. I'm going to put this on a T-shirt. I don't know where I was. I might have been in New York City, and somebody said to me once, "Thursday's not a good day to get raw." Thursday's not a good day to get raw, which means is most of if you're eating seafood by Thursday, it's the oldest. So they deliver for the weekend on a Friday. So that's where you want to get. So eat seafood on the weekend. Do not eat seafood on a Thursday.
I like that. I'm buying one of your T-shirts. Get them made.
All right, here we go. Keep it going. Number 2, lace up sneakers or slip-ons?
Lace up.
Nice. A lot of people have been saying lace ups.
Lace up.
Cool. All right. And I can see you. If those who aren't watching, hop over to YouTube so you can see Dennis. T-shirt or collared shirt?
Collared, man. I'm a golfer.
I can see. Is that a Green Bay?
Well, let me.
Oh yeah, a little bit. I just see it.
Yeah, I gotta support the pack just real subtly. I'm not over the top. I'm like Dave with his Raiders, but I had to get a little subtle drop there for the pack. So.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for Devontae Adams.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, this is a weird one. Horse, car, or boat? Car.
I'm not a boat guy, and horses don't. They don't move at the pace I need them to move. So.
Got it. All right. Number 5, beach or mountains?
Man, I love them both. Beach.
Where,
It
where
could snow in the mountains, so beach. I'm a
y-
warm guy. I'm a
you're,
warm.
where's your favorite beach?
Oh, I love Mexico, the Caribbean. Um, but I would say we went to Turks and Caicos. I think it's 7 Mile Beach. It was unbelievable. We were out in 10 feet of water and you could see the hair on your toes. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
just crystal clear. Hard to get to, but
Yeah,
worth it.
cool. Yeah, that's on my that is the Turks is on my list.
Yeah, we're headed to Hawaii this January for our 10th wedding anniversary. So we'll see how they compare. We've never been there, so knocking one off the bucket list.
Cool. Well, they have mountains too, so you can do both.
Oh yeah, we'll get the best of both worlds.
All right. This is a toughie. What would you sing at karaoke night?
Something 70s.
Something 70, something like
Something 70s, maybe some man, I don't know. I just sing random tunes all day, Dave, but big 70s. I got Sirius XM 70s on my radio. Grew up with it, older brothers and sisters.
is it rock or is it like, Bee Gees?
Both.
Okay.
I'm all no country. I'm not a country guy. Sorry. I'll listen to it, but I don't sing it. So,
I can see you like doing Foreigner or something, or
yeah,
like
maybe
Toto or
mix in a little Chicago, maybe.
Little Chicago,
Yeah,
Ted
yeah,
Nugent.
yeah. I don't have that deep, raspy rock voice, so I got to stay within my limitations. So,
All right. All right. Doors or wheels? Have you ever been asked that question before?
no, you got to give me some context.
So that's why I start there. So, do you think there are more doors or more wheels in the world?
Wow, wheels. When you think of all the machinery, it's got to be wheels.
Right. So then I go to this. That's what most people say. But how many doors are in your house? How many cabinet doors
Oh,
are
I'm not even
behind you right
thinking
now?
of cabinet doors. My God, we just changed out our handles. I think we got 40 some cabinet doors.
This
Okay, doors. You got me.
this is something that you're gonna go back all like today or tomorrow. You're gonna be like, you're gonna open up a door or you're gonna look down and there's gonna be four wheels on a little cart that you didn't realize, and you're like, I have no idea.
I'm doing it right now. What the hell are you doing to me? Get
Yeah.
me out, Dave.
All right, that's a fun one. All right, last three. What's your favorite zoo animal?
Zoo animal. Gorilla.
Oh, good one.
Love the gorilla.
Silverback, big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Tigers are fun if they're active, but gorilla.
Yeah, they're weird. They're really weird because like if you ever watch them like eat, it's like kind of gross. They like throw back up and then they like eat it again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I
But
like
yeah,
about them.
they're tough. Like they don't take crap. From the little ones that the big. I'm talking like the big gorilla. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
that's
can't
that's
imagine what it'd be like to be in the wild, and just like on a safari or whatever where you can observe from, man, that'd be way cool. I think I just added something to the bucket list.
there you go. That's awesome. Great. All
Yeah.
right. So these last two are there's a little bit more thinking beyond these. And as you're kind of working towards your transition, and again, congratulations there. If you could tell your future you, what would be something that you would change?
So going back in time 30 years to where I am today. Okay. So bring balance into your life sooner. Take care of relationships. Trust your gut.
Those are three great things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good
You
stuff.
can, you can tell I've thought about it a little bit, and that's been part of my pivot, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but trust your gut. Trust your gut, man. When I worked Initiative One, I'd be dealing with whatever issue. Trust your gut. Trust
Yeah.
your gut, and then what's keeping you from doing it now? So
Good stuff.
yeah.
All right, last one. So telling your future you from this point on, what is something you're going to keep? What's something you're going to keep doing or keep for you that you're not going to change?
I am going to really try to stay active. I'm going to keep traveling, and I'm going to keep spending time with my grandchildren and my family.
Ah, that's perfect. And Snorky, and your
Oh,
Snorky.
and Snorky, yeah. Snorky. That's the puppy I got. Schnauzer Yorkie mix. He's just a little riot. So
Well, great stuff. Dennis, how can our listeners find you?
okay, so you can always check out LinkedIn, but my preference, or you'll get a quicker response via email. So it's just D and then my last name, Kreft, at Imaginasium.com. And I'll spell that out for you because it's one of those homemade words. So it's Imaginasium.com. Kreft at Imaginasium.com. I'd be happy to field any calls, questions. Like I said, I'm in that mode of it's time for me to give back. And if someone thinks I've got something that they want to explore or offer, I could offer them, by all means, reach out. I mean that sincerely. Happy to help.
Well, thank you so much, Dennis. Please take him up on your offer. We'll make sure we get all of his contact information linked up on agencybalance.com. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and you'll have more great conversation like this. Thank you so much again, Dennis, and have a beautiful day.
Dave, thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you again for having me, and I had a ton of fun.
Subscribe to the podcast at agencybalance.com, Apple, YouTube, or Spotify.